So let's start a costing method, first one, which is called job costing. So to understand job costing, first you have to understand what do we mean by a job in managerial accounting. So think of job as a order. For example, McDonald's. McDonald's get a lot of orders every day, right? Like when they open their place, every day, like so many customers are placing in their order. I want this Big Mac. I want this and with this. I want this, that, with that. So these are called jobs for McDonald's, means orders for McDonald's. That's what we mean by job costing, means to calculate the cost of each order we are preparing. So from that, you might have gotten an idea that job costing, if it is based on each order separately, it has to be for businesses that provide different order arrangements, right? It cannot be for a business that sells the same product to everyone, you know. So Coca-Cola cannot use job costing because they sell the same Coca-Cola to everyone. It's not like custom made. But however, when you're talking about McDonald's, of course they use job costing because they don't give the same order to everyone. It's like based on what you're ordering, you get to give the money. Okay, now if we talk about, let's say, a furniture shop, and the furniture shops usually, you know, like they can get orders. I want this type of table, I want this type of a door, I want this type of a sofa, right? So now this furniture shopkeeper has to quote them the price. To be able to quote a price to the customer, you need to know the cost. That's called job costing. We need to find the cost of that order so we can add our profit margin and then tell the price. So job costing means calculating the cost of a job. Just keep that in mind. When we are doing job costing, we are calculating the cost of a specific order, cost of a specific job. Okay, so now let me quickly make a question here so you can see like how we solve a job costing question. Okay, so let's say ABC Limited has a business of manufacturing and selling furniture, for example. They have provided the following information about two jobs that they have. So let's say they have a job 1 from one customer and job 2 from another customer. So obviously they will tell you the direct material they think they will use on the job, because we already talked about this. You always know how much material you're going to use on something. Direct material is easily traceable, so it's not a problem. So let's assume the material we'll use on job 1 is $4,000 worth, and job 2 it is $3,500 worth. Okay. Direct labor, another direct cost, another thing that will be given in the questions. Let's say we use $1,000 in labor here and apparently $1,400 of labor here. But the problem will be we will not be provided the manufacturing overhead, because we talked about this. That is the part we have to master, how to find the overhead of any costing system. So in this case, the question will give some this type of data, which we already know what that is given for. So budgeted total overhead will be given. Total overhead. Let's assume for the full year, the furniture shop is estimating overhead to be $100,000. And let's say they use the machine hours as allocation base, or okay, here we can even say labor hours. So let's say budgeted direct labor hours. Direct labor hours. So let's assume that's the allocation base. So let's say they were thinking in total this year they will use 10,000 direct labor hours. Okay. Now you will be given one other information, because to find overhead I need to know how much hours I used on each job, right? So I can distribute the money based on the hours. So you will be provided something like this, direct labor hours. So let's say in job 1 we will be using 10 hours, and in job 2 we will be using 12 hours. Okay, now the question will ask you, calculate the manufacturing overhead for each job, and then once you find that, calculate the total manufacturing cost for each job. Now, how do we do this? Again, always remember, whenever we are supposed to find the manufacturing overhead, it's always a two-step process, right? First step is to find the rate. Second step is to multiply the rate by how much allocation base, means in this case hours, we actually used on the job. So, let me show you how to do that. So, manufacturing overhead calculation. First, we'll find predetermined overhead rate. Predetermined overhead rate. It's called predetermined because we calculate this at the start of the year. So whenever the year happens. So the formula we already know is the budgeted overhead divided by budgeted allocation base. In this case, which is labor hours. So budgeted overhead is 100,000 divided by budgeted allocation base, which is labor hours. So $10,000. So now we have found out that per labor hour we are using $10 of overhead. Now we can easily find for each job how much overhead we used, because for let's assume I'm doing job number 1. I can do 10, which is per hour rate, times how many hours I actually used on the job, 10. So that means job 1 used $100 in overheads, and job 2 will be 10 per hour multiplied by 12, because we use 12 hours on this job. So this will be $120, and now we have found the overhead for each job. So once you know the overheads, now we can calculate the total manufacturing cost of each job. So let's do here job 1, job 2. So we have direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. So direct material, direct labor, you can just copy from the question because we know conceptually it will always be given. But the overhead is what we have to put from our calculation. Overhead for job 1 was this, and job 2 was this number. And now if we do the totals, we will find the total manufacturing cost of each job. So let me do the total. So 4,000 plus 1,000 plus 100. And for this one, 3,500 plus 1,400 plus 120. So that's how you solve the question of job costing to find the total manufacturing cost. So again, the purpose is so now I can give the accurate price to the customer, right? Once I know how much it will cost me to complete the job, I can add some profit and then quote the price.